You know what's similar to D&D though? Guardians of the Galaxy. Because they
Oh.
both take place in space. They both have
Wha-
ragtag groups of heroes that we love. And along those lines, we're going to play a little game here. We're going to play a game of Guess the Guardian of the Galaxy.
Oh, very fun.
I
And,
like
and
it.
so this is from the comics because, this main team and, the members that have kind of been added throughout the movies is a little bit different from the comics. And so we are going to just play a little bit of true or false, multiple choice, guess the one that's wrong, guess the one that's right. We'll see where it goes. But basically, I'm going to give you a list of characters. I'm going to give you 5 characters, and you're going to have to guess which one was not part of the original Guardians of the Galaxy from the comics. And we'll give this one to Niall because it's a little bit harder. And
Okay.
so
Okay.
maybe Niall will know it.
Wait. Just give me that setup one more time. I
Okay,
just
okay.
want to make sure
I'm going to
doing
give you
this right.
5 characters.
Five
Okay.
One of
characters.
them is not an original member of the Guardians of the Galaxy.
Gotcha.
You have to guess which one it is. Okay, you ready?
Okay. Yep.
So we got Yondu, we got Martin X, Starhawk, Nikki, and Groot. Which one is not an original member of the Guardians of the Galaxy?
I believe that the answer is Groot.
That would be correct.
Oh,
Well done. Very
That's
well.
what we play for.
Okay. Jared, this one is for you. It's going to be true or false.
Okay.
Was Agent Venom, who is Flash Thompson in the comics, who's Peter Parker's bully, was he a member of the Guardians of the Galaxy in the comics? Yes or no? True or false?
True.
That is correct.
Hey,
Good job.
look at us getting
There's been
some
a Venom.
points.
There's been a Venom in the Guardians of the Galaxy, isn't that?
I just
awesome,
feel like
guys?
a Venom had to go to space, return
no
back
doubt.
to whence he came.
Yeah, bro. Back to square one.
Back to square one. Okay, this one is a little
space.
bit harder. And it's for Niall again.
Right.
So, what is the name of the Guardians of the Galaxy character that James Gunn wanted to include in every movie, but was unable to due to rights issues?
Oh.
I can give you multiple choice if you want.
I got this one.
Yeah,
Steal.
will you make it multiple choice?
Yeah, we'll do it out
Except
of 4.
Jared wants to steal it, but I want
Oh,
to do multiple
Jared,
choice
do you know the
first.
answer with no multiple choice?
Yeah.
Okay. Who is it?
Nova.
It is not Nova, but that's a good guess.
That's the
However,
only...
yeah,
I
Nova, the Nova Core was in the
Nova
first
Corps
one,
was in the first
Well,
one.
I
they
know,
probably
but
have the rights.
Nova wasn't.
Right.
Nova himself.
So I
Nova
guess, yeah,
Prime,
he
Glenn
probably-
Close was.
Glenn Close was, yeah. She's a Nova. Remember how
Yeah.
much you love her?
I do remember that.
Okay, so I'll give you out of four questions or 4 options. Major Victory, Bug, Jack Flag, or Moondragon. One of these characters he's wanted to include,
Bro, you
but
got
couldn't
this.
due to
You know
rights
this one.
issues.
We were talking
Okay,
about this earlier.
Yeah, we
So
were talking about this earlier.
Moondragon was Drax's daughter. And so I can't imagine that it's that. Let's go Jack Flag.
That is incorrect.
Yeah,
I am
okay.
sorry. It was
Ooh.
Bug.
Bug. Okay.
Of course.
I've never
remember
heard him
Bug?
say that.
Yeah, he will say it on like Twitter and stuff and Instagram and in the virtual channels.
Sure. Which he's
Um,
quite active on, by
he
the
is
way.
extremely active on, which I love because he's
very
always
interactive. Like he answers questions and it's
and
cool.
shuts people down like crazy.
Yeah.
And or will just be extremely vague about stuff. Like someone was like, "Hey, will there be any Guardians of the Galaxy cast in the Superman movie you're making?" And he just says yes. So it's like
Oh, cool.
that could be
It's gonna be
any
John
any
C.
small-
Riley.
Yeah, it's gonna be John C. Riley in the background for one
As
scene. And
Superman.
he's just like, "Hey," as he recasts Henry
Please,
Cavill.
please.
That would be
that
so
be
funny.
The perfect fan casting,
The
you guys.
perfect cast.
Our dream come true.
Dude, we could have a Will Ferrell, John C. Riley, Batman and Robin.
Oh,
what this
dude,
world
don't even-
needed.
Don't even like get me excited about that. That's just too. Oh, I just can't even imagine it without getting upset because of how much I want it.
Mm.
Next
Okay.
question.
All right,
Next
what else we
question.
got?
Which this is for Jared. Which of these X-Men members was a member of the Guardians of the Galaxy? Kitty Pryde, Cyclops, Colossus, or Nightcrawler?
Oh, that's a good lineup.
I'm gonna guess Nightcrawler.
That is incorrect, unfortunately. It is Kitty Pryde.
Really? That was
I-
going
yeah.
to be my last guess.
I don't know who
Yeah.
that is.
That's,
Kitty Pryde's the one who can phase through walls.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah,
Mhm.
Ellen Page, formerly known as Ellen Page. Elliot Page
Elliot
played
Page.
her in
3.
movies, in 3 movies. She in
I
Days of
thought-
Future Past and X-Men 3. Oh, X-Men 3 is like really
X-Men
long.
3 is what I was thinking.
The character was
The last
When
Uh,
she's
yeah.
running from Juggernaut. I do remember that scene.
yeah,
Yeah,
yep.
that seems sweet.
Dude, that's sick.
That one is cool. All right. I think that's enough questions along that. I think 2 is good.
So
Do you
we
have more?
died.
Yeah, you tied 1 for 1. Or we can do a tiebreaker if you
I want
want.
to
Yeah,
do a
let's do a
tiebreaker. Let's
tiebreaker.
buzz
You want
in.
more?
Whoever buzzes
Okay.
in.
Let me.
Do like a don't give multiple choice.
Yeah, just whoever can come in.
Yeah.
Okay, what was the name? This is a movie question
Okay.
for Guardians of the Galaxy
Right.
3. Not a spoiler though. The little cute little dog thing that Adam Warlock has. What was that thing's name?
Oh.
Oh, don't do memory with us. You know who's gonna win. His name was Scruffers.
Worf. That is incorrect. Jared with a chance to steal.
I said Scruffers.
This is also incorrect.
Is it
The
Evan?
character's Evan.
Yeah.
No, it was not Evan. It was
Was it-
Blurp.
Blurb, of course. I was
Blurb.
gonna
Did it
guess
say
Dave
that in the
Bautista.
movie?
I don't know. Honestly, I have no clue. That's just what it says here.
Excellent.
Well,
Cosmo the
great
space
tie-
dog.
Great tiebreaker, Niall.
Okay, we'll do one
Thanks,
more
man.
tiebreaker.
Yeah, we crushed it. That was sick.
This is a name I already said.
Blurb.
This is a name I already said. But what is the character that Michael Rosenbaum plays in Guardians of the Galaxy 2 and 3? What is his name?
Who that?
Michael Rosenbaum. Oh,
Michael Rosenbaum is
oh.
Lex
Nova
Luthor.
Prime.
He's Lex
He's
Luthor.
Lex Luthor in
He's,
Smallville. He's a CGI character, so you wouldn't recognize his face.
Yeah.
Well, you've already said his name.
I already said his name earlier. The character's name.
Bug.
Yeah, he plays Bug. The one that's not in the
Yeah,
movie.
that's why I didn't recognize him.
This is frustrating because I know the answer and I'm simply not recalling it right now. But like
Okay.
you know that I know the answer.
I don't know that.
You
I
do.
don't know about that.
So
Wait.
Or Sylvester Stallone, if you can get his
Stakar.
character's name. Stakar is his real name, but what's his character name? His superhero name.
Star Dad.
Oh,
Star-
almost. You got Star right.
Star Killer.
It's an animal.
Star Lion.
No.
Star
Lion.
Wolf.
Fox.
Star
It's
Fox.
not. It's something that flies.
Star Eagle.
Starbird.
Star Falcon.
Nope. Close to Falcon, close to Eagle. What's another one?
Star Hawk.
Star Hawk. There we go.
Bro, that's me.
That was Jared. Yeah, good job, Jared.
For me, it was me.
For me, it was me.
But it way before Jared.
That
Yeah,
that
but I
is
got you
Way
there.
of
I got
Zoot
you there.
delays.
And then the character who was Michael Rosenbaum is Martin X.
Gotcha.
Oh,
Martin
yeah.
X, the crystal head boy,
It's not the
Not
abelisks.
Not carrot
not-
head.
not carrot brain
Dude,
man.
that guy.
Oh, that was-
Crushed,
That
was good.
visual was like upsetting. How funny it was. All right.
With that, let's get into this. Okay, cool. Welcome back to Man Cave Movie Night Monday. This week we're going to talk about Guardians of the Galaxy, Volume 3
Hello.
specifically.
Woo!
You guys want to do a non-spoiler or just get right into spoiling it? I feel like a lot of people have probably been listening to it if they're going to be or seen it if they're going to be listening to this.
Let's
Yeah.
do quick non-spoiler
Yeah.
reviews.
Well, and I think even just giving our initial thoughts, what we like, not even getting into specifics, but just how we felt about it. If we liked it, we didn't like it. That's a good way
Yeah.
to start.
Sounds good to me.
And we don't need spoilers to do that. So
True.
I'll go.
Yeah, I was going to say, who wants to go first?
So first of all, I'll start this off by basically just quoting a wise person, aka myself, in my letterbox review of it, which is
You are a wise person, let's be fair.
I think that this movie is very likely the final Marvel Cinematic Universe movie to be made by the filmmaker and produced by the studio rather than made by the studio and produced by the filmmaker.
Yes,
Sad.
I totally agree with that.
Which is sad. Maybe Deadpool 3 will
That's
be
Yeah, that's probably fair.
that's fair. Yeah.
but other
Oh, what?
than
Come on,
that,
the Marvels though. Come on, you know the Marvels is gonna have that artistic flair that we've all
hey,
been yearning.
you haven't
for.
watched the trailer, have you?
I have because
Oh, okay.
it
'Cause
was
you
in
don't
the
care
theater.
about it.
No,
Oh,
and I don't
that
care
makes
about it. It was
sense,
in
that
the
makes
theater. It's hard to avoid.
But
It's the last
I-
one that plays. So
first of all, side note, the trailer for the Marvels much better than I was expecting it to be, and it's revived some hope for that movie for me.
Mm.
I'm
It
still
is-
not thinking like, oh, this is going to be the best Marvel movie ever, but I'm like, okay, I see what they're doing. It could be fun if they nail it. It could be fun. But back to Guardians of the Galaxy.
yeah,
This
yeah.
felt like Guardians 1 and 2,
Mhm.
which was very important to me.
Mhm.
For it to not just feel like some post end game, like,
drivel.
oh, let's talk about the blip and blah blah blah. It's like, yeah, the blip happened in all of the universe, not just on Earth. But they didn't need to like
They didn't
dwell
reference it
on that
once,
and
I
have
don't
that
think.
be a thing. Yeah. And so I really appreciated that. And I really just like I appreciated how it felt like the director was advocating for his vision to the studio. In every scene, it was like, no, this feels like James Gunn probably had to even convince Marvel to let him do this.
Right.
And it's so nice to have a director like that is pushing for his vision rather than just kind of being like, all right, I'm hired, I'm part of the machine, I'll do what you want me to do. So this like I thought that in terms of production, on the production ends of things, that's the feelings that I got out of it. And then also I had a deep connection and emotional moment at least once with every core character of the cast.
Mm.
It did such a good job of giving everybody their point of being in the spotlight and making you care about them. And y'all know I'm a movie crier. I cried throughout the movie.
Did you guys
Like
see this together?
Yeah. And it wasn't like an end of the movie, like, oh, like emotional ending. It was throughout the movie, emotional things were happening, and I was crying throughout pretty much the entire thing. Which, you know, if you can get me there with a Marvel movie, no less, like I'm
I can get you there.
just
The
totally on
Marvel
board.
movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. Guardians of the
Alright.
Galaxy 3.
Okay. So that's my spoiler 3 impressions.
Sweet.
Spoiler free. Did I just say spoiler 3?
You
Yeah.
did.
That's
So
But
we're
that's
allowed.
okay.
You're,
We were
you
getting
said
spoiled.
you're allowed 3 spoilers. So
Well, you're also allowed 3 mistakes, so you've used up one of them.
I've used
You
up
got
one.
2 left.
Great.
Just keep that in mind.
yeah. Yeah, I'll talk about my experience as well. I honestly, like, as much as I love Guardians of the Galaxy, I really wasn't looking super forward to this movie. I was like, oh yeah, like if any of them are going to be good, it's going to be this one. But I was like, I'm counting on it being a disappointment, you know, like Thor,
Yeah.
Love and Thunder. Whereas like I still had a good time
Sure.
with it, but it was just kind of like
Yeah.
mid, you know, it wasn't
Yeah.
great. And so going into this one, pleasantly surprised with how much I laughed, how much I enjoyed it, how much thought and care was given to each of the characters, like Niall was saying. I didn't full cry, but I kind of welled up at the end, you know, and like, yeah, I mean, I just had a great time. There's so many great jokes. The visuals were disturbing in a lot of ways.
Yeah,
you
dude.
know?
It was shockingly
It was-
like
It was
adult.
Yeah, we in the theater Niall and I were at, there were some kids sitting like a couple rows in front of us, and I think we were both kind of just thinking like, "Whoa,
Yeah, there were
these
multiple
kids are
scenes where I was kind of like,
being
"Oof."
exposed to stuff."
Yeah, they are
You know,
aging rapidly thanks to James Gunn.
Yeah. Well, and I think I turned to Niall at a couple points, and I was just like, "That's a James Gunn line," you know, like
Yeah.
that's it. You know, it felt like straight out of Scooby Doo 2 Monsters Unleashed.
Yeah.
And it was awesome. It was great. So yeah, definitely had a good time. And this is the first Marvel movie in a while that I want to go back and revisit. And
Mhm.
I would love to sit down and watch the trilogy. I think truly
Yeah.
like they made a great trilogy.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Totally
So-
agree. I think the first one is still my favorite. That one is just like so purely good. I have
Mine too.
basically no qualms with the first one. The second and third, like I love both of them. There's just a couple things here and there that we can get into that I'm just not the biggest fan of, but overall I love
Right.
them both a lot more than some people, especially the second one. But this one I thought was awesome. From start to finish, I was totally invested. There were some of the best jokes in any movie, Marvel or otherwise, that I've heard in a long time in this
Yeah.
one that I was just so into. Specifically the MCU's first F word. That
Yeah.
had me laughing
Yeah.
the
Mhm.
whole rest of the time the movie was going because it was so clearly not planned and it did not feel like a written line at all. It was
Yeah.
just so funny. It was like
It's so good.
Chris Pratt just said it.
And yeah, not in like an emotional
Yeah.
epicenter of the
Like-
movie. Like it's not like
Like-
it was like this impassioned moment.
Yeah,
You know?
It's like
Well,
we
and there's
finally
a
get to say
part-
the F word. He just says it.
There's a part
Yeah.
where a
Come on, it's just
character
like-
says "screw you" and then
Yeah,
"screw
yeah.
you," and I was like, I mean, that would
Yeah.
have been a powerful moment to just whip out a harder
Uh-huh.
word than "screw."
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then they saved it for I don't want to spoil anything, but a more insignificant part, and it was perfect.
way better. Oh,
Way
it was
better,
perfect.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was very funny.
And there was a lot of emotion. Like I thought they did a really good job of balancing the characters in terms of who was the main character and whose story it was and kind of figuring out like I thought they did a good job of balancing flashbacks and not leaning too heavily on that and kind of highlighting each of the characters in a great way because this is kind of the swan song for the Guardians in a way. And if nothing else, it's James Gunn's last Marvel movie, at least for a very long time, at least 10 years, because I think that's how long his contract is with DC.
Yeah.
And so it's gonna be a while.
Yeah.
And so if nothing else, like the Guardians, I'm sure will show up here. Some of the Guardians characters will show up here and there. Who knows how, who knows which ones, who knows if at all. Maybe they don't. Maybe they're just like vaguely referenced.
Who knows
But
what
it was a
actor playing
great-
King they might fight?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. It was a great conclusion to this chapter of these characters and
Yeah.
this director. Like it was just really, really satisfying. And I'm totally content, honestly, to not watch another Marvel movie for a long time. Like a new Marvel movie, at least.
Right.
I'm like, cool,
Well-
yeah, you know what? That was awesome.
And let's
I'm
kind of
fine with this.
go ahead and take that right into some spoiler talk. I think we've all said our
Yep.
piece. If you're
Yeah.
worried about spoilers, you've been warned. I did love Niall and I going into it. We talked about like, oh well, let's see who's gonna die. Like
Yeah.
half the cast could die.
All the
at
cast
least
could
one-
die.
All the cast. Like it's going to be emotional. It's going to be, and it was emotional. But they kind of did more of a Captain America than an Iron Man, right?
Yep.
And even there at the end when Peter Quill almost Iron Man'd,
Yeah.
and I was like, well, I really hope he doesn't because it's
Yeah.
not. It just didn't feel
It
like.
didn't feel
didn't-
earned.
yeah.
earned.
Yeah.
Totally agree.
And so I was like, okay, we're good.
Mhm,
yeah.
And they did the freaking creation, like
Yeah.
I loved that. The
That
Adam
was
thing.
so
that
funny.
was so
yeah, with
funny.
Adam.
Yeah.
That was awesome.
Yeah. So I think I liked the send off exactly like you're saying, where all of these characters, like any good adventure, like the adventurers only have so much of a reason to be there. And then at a certain point, it makes sense for them to leave a group, right?
Yeah.
So like it felt very rewarding and justified to see these characters' stories kind of move on, and seeing Gamora with her new family, seeing like Quill go with his family, and
Mhm.
this is a good way to have a movie about family without saying it's about family.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. It stars Vin Diesel though.
It's so
And
Vin Diesel.
when he said I love you guys,
Mhm.
it was very hard for me to like, that was maybe my least favorite part of the movie, just because I was like, that just felt like Fast and Furious.
That
yeah, I love my family.
I don't know if
love
you guys picked up on
I
that,
was like,
but
ugh.
to me it felt that it wasn't Groot saying words now. It was
It
we
was-
understood what
Yeah,
Groot's
we
saying.
Yeah.
are
We could
getting
understand
the
that it's not. Yeah,
translation.
we're getting
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
So I was
Either
fine with
way,
it.
That's what I
no,
got
I
as
was
well, yeah.
I was okay with like I get the idea. I just
Uh-huh.
didn't like that it was Vin Diesel's voice.
Well,
saying,
that's
"I
who it's
love
It's
done
you."
good
the
with
whole
I am
time.
Groot.
Yeah, but he can say I am Groot, but as soon as he's actually saying stuff, he sounds like Dominic
Dumb.
Toretto.
Yeah.
You know,
One
not
last
that there's
ride.
anything wrong with
Not that
that.
there's anything wrong with
Bro,
that.
also Groot in the credit scene, who was just a monster.
Oh,
that
dude,
was so
that
sick.
was so
that was
sick.
awesome. That crown shaped head of his was really cool.
Yeah, it was very cool.
I was really into that. Yeah, I was really surprised none of them died. But the longer it was going into it, I was like, there wouldn't be like a good moment for them to die, any of them.
Yeah.
And it was like, okay, Rocket is clearly not going to die because this whole movie is about trying to save him. And so if he just dies, then that wouldn't really be as powerful. And then once they save him, they're not going to kill him after that. And
Right.
then like none of them were really put in situations where they were gonna die. And I was like, maybe none of them died. I think the only characters that died is the Golden Lady, Adam's mom, and High Evolutionary.
Yeah, Aisha.
Yeah, Aisha. I know her name, but I just was
Aisha Warlock.
saying it to everyone. Yeah,
I had an interesting thing to say about that, by the way. I think that there was either just a glitch or a bad entry on IMDb, but that actress, I believe her name is Elizabeth Debicki.
Yes, she's in
Yeah.
Tenet.
Something like that. I love her. She's in a couple of things and she's great in all of the things that she's in. But she was listed as Aisha in parentheses voice. And I was
what
like,
the heck?
I'm pretty sure she was.
No, that's
I'm
her.
pretty sure that's her
you know,
acting.
like,
I'm pretty sure that's her entire
Yeah.
presence. As
Everyone
well.
was
That was
there.
kind
Like
of a
Bradley
funny thing.
Cooper, you could see. Like he did great. He's got good
Yeah.
acting chops.
He crushed it.
No,
Yeah.
he crushed it as
So I don't know why they
but-
put him as just voice as well.
his voice. I thought if there was a single guardian that they could have killed and had like a good emotionally impactful moment, it probably would have been Drax.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I would agree.
But like have him basically get his like complete his arc by like saving all the kids
Uh-huh.
and then like have him like stay back and like get the last one through and then he gets like, you know,
Yeah.
stabbed through the back or something. Like that could have been really powerful, but also that would have kept away the part that made me cry the hardest, which was Nebula at the end saying, "You weren't meant to be a destroyer, you were meant to be a dad."
Yeah, I
I
love that line.
Just lost all composure with that line because I was like, that was his whole thing to begin with.
Mhm.
Is that he was fighting for his dead wife and dead daughter, and like that's what turned him into a destroyer, you know.
Yep.
And I loved that we got that closure for him, you know.
I did too.
And I just I actually have a question that I kind of want to bring up before we kind of keep going, just because I feel like this is a good time for it.
Let's hear it.
Which character, core cast preferably,
Mhm.
was the standout for you guys? I'll kind of stick with what I was saying, Drax and Dave Bautista's performance in this one. I just kind of like I was floored with how alive his performance felt. He nailed all of his comedic things, but still had such an emotional heart, which he has always been with Guardians, but
Mhm.
particularly with this movie, because he's a little farther in his progress of like having been with this group, not just being the guy that doesn't understand metaphors, but having more to his character. I feel like he just brought all of that through so well. And like I just really the whole time was super connected with Drax and his performance. I thought it was amazing.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think in terms of like just how well they did, just how good of a job they did with developing the character for that. I thought Rocket was really awesome to see.
Yeah.
He was kind of the main character of this one, more so than Star-Lord, which was interesting. I kind of was suspecting that might be the case going into it. And I thought they did it pretty well. I thought that kind of seeing Rocket's origin and all that stuff was really well done, especially because it's been so vague and so mysterious. And that can be lame at sometimes when they have this kind of mysterious backstory for a character and then they flesh it out completely. It can be like, okay, well, who cares?
Right.
But his backstory was really, really interesting and really heartbreaking too. It's just like he has these friends who are in the same situation as him, because he always talks about like, I'm not a raccoon and there's no one like me except for me. When in reality, there are a lot of other animals, and he is a raccoon. And so just that kind of acceptance of himself by the end of it was really cool to see. Same with all the characters, like just overall, they all kind of just came into their own in a really satisfying way. And it felt a little bit rushed at the end, where it's just like every character's like, here's me.
Yeah,
And they're
this
like,
is why
yeah,
I'm leaving.
this is where
Right.
this is how we're splitting up. Just a little bit rushed, but I was fine with it just because it was like they gotta move these characters on somehow.
Yeah.
And so I was very, very enthused with Rocket in particular in this one.
Yeah, I think this goes back to just James Gunn being the same creative lead and like for the whole project, the whole trilogy.
Yep, all three.
He
Yeah,
knows
yeah.
these characters. He created like with the MCU this interpretation of the characters, and so like knowing like Drax's backstory, kind of knowing where he needs to end, like knowing where they start versus where they end, is great.
There's
just
a car alarm going off.
You can hear that?
Yeah, I can hear.
Well,
I can't hear it like
Yeah.
as well as you can. Also,
Yeah.
Jared and I live in the same apartment now, so
Yeah.
that's kind of fun.
Yeah,
with
this-
Lucas.
With Lucas
Yep,
also. Yeah.
we
We
live with
invited
Lucas.
Lucas also.
Well, they
Well,
live with a Lucas.
We live with a Lucas, yeah.
Yeah, not me though. Unfortunately,
Couldn't be me.
I'm not cool
Yeah.
enough.
Well,
Anyway, continue
Sorry.
with what you were saying. Sorry. The car
Yeah.
alarm really just threw off the
Yeah,
momentum.
it definitely did.
That car is just.
is that my car?
Stop that guy!
Stop that guy! Stop that guy!
Stop my car!
That's my car.
Anyway,
Driving
it was
isn't the
very
only thing.
refreshing seeing someone who understands the characters get to tell their story and get to resolve their story. Same with like the Russo brothers really understanding the core of the characters when they made Endgame, so that like the sacrifice really landed, or you know, giving up like the title and the mantle of Captain America, that was very impactful. So I totally agree with what you were saying, Lucas. It was awesome. I think the character that really stood out to me in this one specifically was Nebula, and I think the reason is she's really come into her own in this one, or she's a member of the group finally in this one.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Like in the first one,
She's just totally a villain. Yeah.
Second one, she's antagonistic still. You know,
Yeah.
she's fighting
On
with
the
Gamora and
team,
stuff.
but there's that rift. You know?
Exactly. And then we get to see more about her backstory in Endgame, and like get to see another version of her. And so even when she was working, you know, it like I feel like now all of the Thanos stuff, her backstory is behind her. It's all backstory now. Now she's the character. What do they do with her? And so it was really fun to see her interact with the characters. And I don't know. I feel like I could have used more like from her. Like I think there's a lot that could have like gone with, like even having like Quill say "I love you" to her, like on accident. Like I feel like they could have done more with that if she was the main character. You know,
Yeah.
Right.
she wasn't the main character. So everything
Right.
that they did do just made, and maybe it's just Karen Gillan's, is that how you say her name?
Yeah.
Outstanding acting in this one as well. Like you can see every line just hits her, and she like you can see the emotion behind her receiving lines, which was really cool.
Yeah.
So anyway,
She's
like
great.
everyone's been fun. She just stood out to me more so
Yeah.
than she has before.
Honorable mention from me is Mantis, who
Yeah.
in volume 2 I did not like. I was kind of like, this is an annoying character. I don't
Yeah.
really like kind of fun, whatever, but I'm just like, I'm not sold. This movie made me want to go back and watch volume 2 again, because I think I'll like Mantis a lot more now.
Yeah,
Because her character, I just thought that she fit into the group so well in this movie. And the running joke of her just landing on her head, it
Yeah,
happens
it's
like
really
3
funny.
times.
That was really
I thought it
funny.
was so funny. And like they used her very, very well. And they made me like this movie, like I said, it makes me want to go back so that I can more fully appreciate Mantis as a character, because she was great in this one.
Yeah, I liked her send off. She's just like, yeah, I was working for Ego my whole life.
Yeah.
and then I was with you guys, and so now I just kind of want to do my own thing. And
Mhm.
I'm
Good
gonna
for
take
her,
these
you know?
aboliths with me.
Yeah.
That was funny as well.
So
Um,
sick.
yeah, what did you guys think of High Evolutionary as the villain?
You know, it gave me. Oh, whoa! What just happened?
I don't know.
I don't
Lucas
know.
said something.
I said, were
Sorry.
you a fan?
Sorry. Yeah, that didn't come through. Um, I was a fan, like kind of with an asterisk. Like I think I liked him way more than when he was first introduced. I was like, oh brother, here we go. You know,
Yeah.
like just another like kind of psychopath villain who we don't understand. And like that's kind of again where the asterisk is I still don't really feel like I understand him. You know, like
Yeah.
I don't understand where he came from, so I don't really care where he's going. There he had that amazing line where he's like, "There is no God. That's why
Oh, so
I
I
stepped
stepped
in."
in.
You know,
Yeah.
and
Oh,
I was
that
like,
was
"Okay,
my
that's
favorite
sick."
line.
And then like
That
that
was
kind of helped
sweet.
me kind of get the character. I still would have liked it. Like we had so much backstory with Rocket. We could have maybe had
Mhm.
one of those scenes where it shows his side of it, right?
It was just
Yeah.
him. Yeah.
Or he talks to Rocket and he's like, "Yeah, my family died because, you know, they were imperfect creatures or like they had this
Yeah.
disease or something. I'm trying to make a world where that it can never happen again."
Mhm.
Right.
Easy enough, throw that line in there, and then I feel a little more
Mhm.
empathetic towards him. But
Right.
I thought he was
You get the Thanos explanation of why he's doing it.
Uh-huh.
exactly. But for what it was, you know, he didn't feel as stale as a lot of Marvel villains. It's
Yeah.
pretty interesting, and like
Mhm.
again, he had a great line, and that's that was enough
One
for
great
me. I
line.
think.
That's all. Yeah.
The,
Yeah.
the
I like
thing
the
that
fact.
oh,
No, I was just gonna say I like the fact that he tied in with previous history of the Guardians as well without
yeah.
being present himself, and
Mhm.
so it just made it feel like a better villain to have rather than just like, oh
Yeah.
hey, it's some random
It's
guy.
Zorb,
All three of the
Right.
villains,
Wog,
yeah, all three of the
the
villains in the Guardians movies
Destroyer
I
as
liked.
well.
Yeah, the Destroyer as
Yeah.
well. They seemed like they had an emotional connection. So at least some of the characters had emotional reasons to be
Yeah.
disdainful
Well,
towards the villains, which worked really well in this one.
and
As well.
that's what I wanted to bring up is that this is another note for any aspiring screenwriters out there. Take
Raise
it
your
from
hands.
us.
Raise your
Just use
hands.
ChatGPT,
Yeah.
baby.
Just use ChatGPT. That's what James Gunn did. This
Just
movie was written by,
Yeah.
by
just tell Chat.
OpenAI.
Oh,
Write
just tell
funny,
ChatGPT.
write
Write
funny
Guardians of the
joke,
Galaxy Volume 3
and
and
it
then hit
says
enter.
carrot head. And he's
Honestly,
like,
the
"All right."
carrot head joke could have been an AI joke, honestly.
Yeah.
But
It could have been an AI generated image. It was
yeah,
so funny.
it was
Yeah.
very surreal. But for any aspiring screenwriters out there, I think that this movie is a very good example of basically I feel like a lot of movies think, okay, this movie happened, so in the sequel we got to go bigger. And in the
Yeah.
sequel we got to go bigger. And now they were saving the galaxy, but now they need to save the universe or
Yeah.
something like that.
Now they're
And
driving
with
a
this
car
one,
in space.
yeah,
Oh.
exactly. This
Now
movie,
physics doesn't apply to them anymore.
Now we're swinging from a vine in a
Mhm.
car.
but in this movie, it really felt like the stakes didn't feel low. It felt like a high stakes thing, but it wasn't like they were like saving the universe from sure destruction.
Right.
They were just stopping this one bad guy that they kind of all had personal beef with for one reason or another. And like because of that, this planet that he created started to explode, you know? And like that's like there's like this kind of collateral like large scale stuff that's going on, but at its core it really was just like these characters have deeply personal reasons to want to take this guy down.
Yeah.
And so you as the viewer feel like the stakes are really high because they are for the characters. It doesn't matter if they are for the world as a whole. As long as the characters, it's the most important thing happening to the characters, it will be the most important thing for the viewers as well. And so I thought that they did a really, really good job with making this movie feel high stakes without original Suicide Squadding it. where it's just like, oh, and also the whole world is about to end because of this thing that
this
you
enchantress
ragtag
ran.
military group are doing. And it's like stupid. That's
Yeah.
just
Not
dumb.
true. Yeah, I like that. I like that a lot in just any superhero movie nowadays where the threat is not world or universe ending.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, this is just affecting them. Like with Spider-Man Homecoming. I love that it was just Vulture, and Vulture wasn't trying to end the world. He was just fighting Spider-Man. He was
Yeah,
just
Yeah,
absolutely.
trying to
Spider-Man.
steal stuff from a
He was trying
plane.
to, yeah, exactly. And it worked super well. And yeah, I totally agree. It was really nice to have that where, you know, he had malicious intent where in theory he wanted to change everyone to be good and whatever, perfect. But it felt a lot more like it felt completely self-contained, this whole movie,
Yeah.
which was great. There was not a single, I mean, other than Thanos and like things that are relevant to the characters, that wasn't a thing like, yeah, and remember that time when we were with Iron Man and all our friends on Earth?
Yeah,
Remember
what
that?
was
Yeah.
that guy's
how we did that,
name
guys?
again? Joni Starp.
Yeah. There was no crap like that, which
Yeah.
I was so happy about. It was just
Yeah.
a good self-contained story that just happened to be a Marvel movie.
Well,
And I think
and
that's really what it needs to be.
another
And Star Wars,
thing
but-
that I think was good about showing the high evolutionary and basically making you hate the high evolutionary, which they did a great job of,
Mhm.
was through the whole movie, you're seeing that he's abusing these animals.
Yeah.
And that's one thing, you know, and that's already so difficult to watch. But then there is that absolutely like jarring, bone chilling shot when they get onto the ship at the end and they turn their flashlights on and there are just cages with children in them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where you're like, oh, and you just like your
Jeez, yeah.
whole body sinks. And that's different than like Thor Love and Thunder, where he kidnaps all of these children. You're like,
Yeah.
because you're seeing that at the start, but you don't actually see Gore do anything to the kids. It's just kind of like, all right, like, yeah, that's a sucky situation and it's bad. We got to go get these kids back. But
Yeah.
with this movie, they use animals. Sorry, PETA. They use animals to show how much of a monster this dude is. And then all they need to do is show that he has kids on board. And you're like,
Mhm.
oh, okay,
You know
well,
what's happening. Yeah.
horrible things are happening here too. And it's
Yeah.
just like it makes you that for the viewers totally raises the stakes. Because the
Mhm.
stakes are already high because viewers hate to see animals getting hurt or injured. It's
Yeah,
like
I mean,
you're 10 times more likely to cry when a dog dies versus when a person dies in a movie, you know.
that's a fact. We did
That's
the
statistically
yeah,
we
we
looked at
did,
the
running
did the
statistics on
research and
stats.org and that's what it said.
but I thought it was a really good way to take this already despicable character and just show you like even if you're some like doubter where it's like, yeah, well, it's just animals, you know, it's
Yeah.
like, no, this dude is messing with everything.
Yeah.
And it was a very good way to make you just hate the high evolutionary.
Mm.
And I loved that.
And I like that like moral conversation that comes from it is he was destroying things he created, right?
Yeah.
If I was working on like let's say a book, I wrote it, it did not turn out well, I have every right to throw it away, right? You would think
Mhm.
so.
Yeah.
If that's a thing that is living, is that the same thing?
Right.
You know, like when does it become an issue to discard your own projects? And so like I think that's a cool angle where it's kind of understandable that he's like, no, I created this. This is just a project to me.
Yeah, you
Like,
can just throw it away. It doesn't
I'm just,
matter.
yeah, exactly.
Just moving on to the next thing.
I mean, like, and they, of course, there's two sides to it. Obviously, the side that's like, no, a freaking an animal
A
or a
sentient
human
animal
is,
is yeah, it
definitely
can
something you should just
let
kill, you know?
live.
Yeah. Versus like, you know, the opposite. Well, even like the animal that was very like rage filled that they made,
Oh,
and then they
yeah.
put that down, and you're like, oh yeah, sure.
Yeah, the
Yeah, it's just
scary
like a
mutant
monster.
nerd ninja
You know what I mean?
turtle.
But
The
then there's a
scary Ninja
monster
Turtle,
that's
yeah.
like not raging. And then you're like, oh, well, you can't kill that guy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Like, it's just an interesting conversation. And That's probably why no mortal is meant to play God.
Right.
Because
True.
I don't know if
Talking to
anyone
you,
should have.
Elon.
Yeah, stop recreating life and then killing it.
Yeah, it's crazy how he does that.
Yeah.
Dude, he's not putting it in the news, but I would not be surprised.
If he's just like all of my children are just clones of
Why do
me.
you think he's trying to get to Mars? Counter Mars. He's
Counter Mars? Yeah, there's no
Yeah,
laws
counter
on Mars.
Counter
baby.
Mars is Earth 2.
It's the true libertarian haven, Mars.
If you guys are okay, I want to kind of transition into my question or a couple questions I wanted to talk about.
Yeah.
Segway King.
The first thing, yeah, super smooth. The first thing I wanted to at least
Hey,
point
can we
out.
do this?
Hey, is it okay if we now talk about something else? The theme of the Guardians of the Galaxy, the bum 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 ba da da, right?
Yeah.
So good.
That's only played like once in this movie.
Yeah. But it was used really
Late
effectively.
into the movie.
It was used really well. I just wanted your thoughts on that. Like, I feel like there really wasn't much of a score here,
Mhm.
right? In the past ones they've had a score, and I love the score so much. Why do you think that was a decision they made when it already has such a great foundation and the music again evoked emotion and everything?
Yeah.
I thought it was interesting because there was a few moments of like palpable silence as well.
Yeah.
It was interesting with no music because there's so much, soundtrack and songs, that's kind of a staple of these movies is there's a cool, fun song playing.
Yeah.
And there was a few times where there's nothing playing and it was kind of like, whoa, this is kind of weird. But it was used super effectively, I thought. I don't remember specifically the reasons. I just remember noticing it or the spots in it.
Is clearly an intentional decision.
Yeah.
It wasn't just, oh yeah.
Well, I guess we don't have a song
Music just
chosen for this part.
Yeah.
Didn't work out. Yeah.
One thing I will say though, No Sleep Till Brooklyn is featured in this movie, a Beastie Boys song.
I was gonna say,
Yeah.
we already talked on the podcast about how that was in what 2-3 movies last month.
No. That was Holding Out for a Hero was in 3 movies last month.
Oh, gotcha.
However, No Sleep
This
Till
was
Brooklyn
in
was in
Mario.
Mario as well. And I was like thinking about it. I was like, man, Mario really was just trying to be Guardians, wasn't it? With their soundtrack.
100%.
And that just bugged me. That just bugged me so much. Thinking all about that. I was like, why was No Sleep Till Brooklyn in Mario? Because
they
it
were
worked
in
really
Brooklyn.
well in this.
Well,
yeah, they
his-
were in Brooklyn. And come on. But like that was so on the nose. It's like, can you not come up with a
let's
better
go back
song
to Guardians
or
real
score
quick.
it? Yeah, whatever. I love the Beastie Boys inclusion. And
it's now my second favorite Space Beastie Boys song.
I was gonna say the
to
same
Sabotage.
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Sabotage
is- you
still
can't
takes
beat
Sabotage in
the
Star
game.
Trek is
Star
perfect.
Trek. Oh, it is perfect. I love Sabotage. They did it in all 3 movies, I think. They for
Did they do it
sure
in
in the
Wrath
first
of
and
Khan?
third. I don't remember.
I don't think it's in the second one.
I don't think it is.
Okay, well.
But in the first
and
one, it's in
third.
his car when he's driving the car.
and
It's
he goes
so
off the
cool.
cliff. Yeah.
Oh, so awesome.
I think it's better than the
I-
third one though, honestly.
I think that when they did play the theme, it felt like such a release for me of like this tension of like finally it's like the Guardians theme,
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of my theories as to why they waited for so long was because it was only at that point that all of the Guardians were in action again because Rocket was out for the whole, and that it plays in his kind of first scene back when he's helping again. And so like kind of a Fellowship of the Ring type thing with that theme, how it only really plays when they're all in the same place.
Yeah.
I think that was maybe kind of some of the reasoning behind it. However, I would have preferred more of a balance between score and soundtrack. I think that the first movie does an excellent job of that. Like they play all of the songs in a way that they stick with you, but also you leave that movie knowing the Guardians theme,
Mhm.
Yeah.
And it's like, I wouldn't have left this movie knowing the Guardians theme. There were certain sequences where they put soundtrack where in the first movie they would have put score.
Yeah.
And it's
Well-
like, it's not necessarily a problem. I kind of just would have preferred more score just because I love that theme and I want to hear it more often.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's a bad thing. It just kind of wasn't exactly my taste, but it's such a minor thing that I'm like, that's not going to affect my star rating on Letterboxd. You know?
Right.
It's
Exactly.
just personal preference at that point.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And one of the things I was thinking about is with the first one, I remember after watching it, I could have probably just, you could have picked out a song, played it for me, like, when was this in the movie? And I'll be like, oh, that was that scene. Like,
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
scene was awesome. Or, yeah, that's when, you know, he escaped from the prison. That's when he was, you know, whatever.
Mhm.
This one, I don't think I could do that.
Yeah,
There's maybe
much
like a
less so.
couple songs that I was like, I think this was, yeah, I think this was that song. But
They felt
it
much
kind of
less tied to the
blended in.
moment.
Exactly.
For sure.
So I kind of wish they would have done a little bit more there. But again, these are small, like you were saying, small, like picking it apart.
Yeah.
I didn't prefer this way.
Yeah. These are the reasons that we still like the first movie the most.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But it's
Yeah.
not reasons that we dislike this
The
movie.
third one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know?
Exactly.
And so the other thing I wanted to ask, I talked about score on that. What now of all of the songs on from the Guardians of the Galaxy movies, like either is your favorite use of a song, favorite moment with a song, has it
Mhm.
changed at all? Not just favorite song, but you know, favorite use. Or going forward, if we have a Guardian scene, we have access now to every decade of
Mhm.
music.
Yep.
So is there a song you would love to see featured? Like Party Rock Anthem. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah, that one.
I wanted to just use that as an example so you guys
Yeah.
couldn't use it because I knew everyone
Because you
wanted
wanted
to.
to
You got to
use it,
jump
yeah, of
on
course.
that. While
Yeah.
you
I think
got it.
Crazy Frog would fit really well.
Axel F. Crazy Frog Axel F.
Yeah. The Guardians
I-
just like bounced around to that would be really cool. And I think it would work great for a fight scene.
Yeah.
So first of all, I talked about this a couple of days ago, or a couple of weeks ago, I mean, in the James Gunn episode,
Mhm.
how I was certain that Roundabout by Yes was going to be in this movie, and it wasn't.
And it was not.
So shut
Which
up,
sucks.
everyone.
There's a ton of songs, and that wasn't one of them.
There was a lot of songs, and that wasn't one of them. And also, it would be a great song for a Guardians movie. But
Yeah.
you know, we'll set that over here. That's fine. I'll just have that little qualm for the rest of my life. Out of this movie, my favorite song was Creep at the very beginning.
Mm.
I'm not gonna lie to you.
Mm.
The movie started with it, and I had tears in my eyes because thinking of the fact that of all of the music that they have access to, that would be the song that Rocket connects with personally. I just like knowing that this movie was going to be much more about him and kind of thinking about like his relationship with everybody else and his like drunken rant in the first one, which to me is like the most emotional part of that movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like was immediately emotional. I was just like, okay, this movie is gonna hit.
It's gonna get
know?
you.
Because
That's
I
great.
just like I really think that in terms of a song meaning something to a character, you have volume 1 where everything means something to Star-Lord just because they're from his mom. And then volume 2, same thing. But then volume 3 is just like that's Rocket just connecting with the song because of what it's saying.
Mhm.
And it like, oh, I loved that. So that's my answer from this one. I don't think it's my favorite or the best used of any of them.
Mhm.
Am I allowed to say my next answer right now, or should I allow some other
Wait.
people to go first?
Allow other.
For the like picking any song or for just
No,
overall?
I'm just saying for my actual answer. That was my one
No,
for
you
this
can-
movie.
Well, and I was thinking
Oh,
about that.
okay.
I was like, maybe we should just do this movie because
Yeah,
let's
we're
just do this
talking
movie.
about
It's
this
just- yeah.
movie and we just
Sure.
have a similar question. But if you wanted to say
You can
I-
say
an
it's still do it,
example of
yeah.
a good one,
I think the best used one of through all of them is "Come and Get Your Love" from the
I
first
agree.
one.
yeah.
It just
So
it is such
an
a
introduction.
it's such a perfect contrast to the way that the movie starts, because it starts with this really emotional hospital scene and then an abduction, and then it even shows him like showing up and he's got all this alien gear and stuff, and you're like, okay, this is going to be some like weird, like gritty something, and then he puts the headphones on and plays "Come and Get Your Love" and dances around to it.
Yeah.
And it's just like it's the perfect emotion for that scene, and it just totally dissolves any of the tension of this world, you know.
Yeah.
And I think that it is the perfect song to start that movie
Well,
with.
and then it has like the title screen of like Guardians of the Galaxy in that scene, right?
Yeah.
Like I don't know,
Yep,
something
that in the
about
first
that
one?
is just
Yeah, yeah.
so
Well, I watched
this
a-
is the show we're doing.
I watched
you know,
an
this is the movie.
interview today, press tour interview with James Gunn and Chris Pratt. And James Gunn was talking about how it was for that opening scene, it was going to be "Come and Get Your Love" or it was going to be "Hooked on a Feeling."
Yep.
And he couldn't decide between the two, and it ended up just being "Come and Get Your Love" just fits better for the scene. And they're talking about the choreography and everything.
Mhm.
And they were like, we were going to get a choreographer, but then we thought, we don't want this to look good. We want it to just look like a person listening to music and dancing along.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
didn't like choreograph any of it except for like the slide and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And the one thing that was choreographed because James Gunn wanted it to look a certain way was with that title screen, him standing under it and like kind of raising his arms, doing like a raise the roof type
Uh-huh.
motion. That was the one thing that he was like, no, you have to do
You
this.
have to
And
do the
everything
raise
else-
the roof. That's so funny.
So
I,
yeah, that's my answer.
The opening title sequences for all three of these movies was just so crisp.
Excellent.
Yeah.
It was awesome. This third one with what Niall was saying, that whole sequence with Creep, is one shot as well. I don't think it
Yeah.
cuts
Mhm.
until Chris Pratt like stumbles and they leave that room.
Yeah. Which
Um,
also my one qualm though, just use the Radiohead version, like the studio. This was either
It's like it was the acoustic version.
it was either a
Yeah.
cover or just the acoustic version. I'm not
Yeah,
sure,
That's
but I'm
what it
like,
said on the.
I just want to hear the
The
real,
soundtrack.
like the version. You know,
Yeah.
I get
Yeah.
it, but that's again personal qualm, not
that's-
necessarily an issue.
Yeah, I kind of do like it where it's like this is the version you have saved on your iPod.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Some people
Yeah.
just have like a random version of a good song, and you're
For
like,
sure.
okay. Like, I mean, it doesn't matter.
I had a friend. This reminds me of a story, just real quick.
Yeah.
I had a friend one time in Scouts who showed me. I was always talking to him about music, and he was like, "Oh yeah, dude, I'm like way into Pink Floyd recently." And I was like, "Dude, that's sick." And he showed me. He was like, "Dude, Money is super cool." And I was like, "Yeah, isn't that song sweet?" And he started to play it, and I was like, "This is a cover. This is
Oh,
not
no.
Pink Floyd."
man.
And we went through all of his Pink Floyd, and all of them were just like weird covers
Oh,
of
so
Pink Floyd
man.
songs. It was way funny.
That's
Yeah, the Glee version of
Yeah,
Money.
pretty much. Like it
of
was
Money
super-
of
it
all
was
Pink
super
Floyd songs,
bizarre.
Glee.
I'll do my answer if that's okay for this one. I think the one it really just kind of hit home there at the end, which I was talking to Niall about it as well, is the Florence and the Machine. The Dog Days Are Over at the end, and it was also Rocket playing a song like they're sad, like people are leaving, but it's kind of more of a celebration. It's like,
Yeah.
hey, everything, like we passed it, like we did it, you know,
Mhm.
we got through it. Now we can move on, you know. And it was a very beautiful ending to the movie and to the trilogy.
Yeah.
And it's just such a fun, happy song, you know. But yeah, that was when I started tearing up, was that part. So it ended really strong for me.
For sure. I
And I'm excited to hear that song in grocery stores for the next
30
several years.
Yeah, for real. Remember when the Chain just had like a crazy respike? It was like
When
the Chain and
2017,
Mr. Blue
yeah.
Sky, especially.
Or like Brandy, you know what I mean? Like these
Yeah.
songs that like nobody was listening to for
No.
a second, and
Yeah.
then everyone's listening to.
All of these movies have had like huge, huge
Cultural-
effects.
I'm
on
very
stuff.
curious what the Spotify 100 and the like Billboard is going to be looking like
Oh
Mm,
yeah,
for
that'll be
songs, and just
interesting.
how many of these songs are just
But-
filling up that list.
There's a song on it called, I think it's called San Francisco. And it's like Gomorrah plays it when she's piloting it and crashing into trees.
Oh yeah,
Mhm.
And I was like, that's not a huge song. That's like, I mean, as far as I know, the last decade. Like, imagine you are contacted and they're like, hey, Guardians of the Galaxy wants to use your song.
Yeah,
What an opportunity
Oh,
that is.
so crazy.
Yeah, I had to think
Blow
about
you
that.
up. Your monthly listeners just skyrocket.
yeah.
Yeah.
For a few years at least.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That would be great. So I really liked, like I said, No Sleep Till Brooklyn, but with the post-credit scene, the first one where they brought back Come and Get Your Love, I thought that was really
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah.
I thought
That
it was a
was
really fun
great.
callback because it's like Rocket and Groot are the only ones there. And even that version of Groot isn't technically the original Groot. It's just
Right.
Rocket now that's left.
Yeah.
And so he's just like, yeah, now I got these new friends that I can like introduce these
I
songs
could show them this music. Yeah.
I really dug that.
Yeah.
I think it was very intentional that the second post credit scene with Star-Lord, you know, with him being back on Earth. I think he will become an Avenger is my assumption. I don't know. I don't think he will for a while until the Avengers movies.
Right.
I think
Like Secret
Guardians-
Wars, even
Yeah.
Secret
probably
Wars.
not Kang Dynasty.
I think that that's what his character will be used for next. I don't think they're gonna make it a Guardians 4.
No,
At least not for a very long time. Especially not with
Sure.
that Rocket team. They might show up in like Secret Wars or something, just like, hey guys, we're like out doing our thing. But I would not be surprised if they don't make a new Guardians movie for like a long, if
Yeah.
ever.
Yeah.
And I don't want a new Guardians.
Well,
I
it
don't think anyone
also-
is gonna want a new Guardians movie. With that team especially, like
It did
Yeah, it's kinda
specify
fun, but-
Star-Lord will return.
Exactly.
You know,
And
right?
that's
which,
what I'm
by the
thinking.
way,
He'll
them
be an
saying the
Avenger.
legendary Star Lord got
Yeah.
me real excited.
Yeah.
Because that's
I
like
did like
his
that.
that's his comics I guess adjective.
Moniker.
What's the yeah,
Or, yeah.
like,
The
'cause
amazing Spider-Man.
you've got like the
Yeah, yeah.
Incredible
The
Hulk, the
legendary
Invincible Iron Man,
Star-Lord.
like the Uncanny X-Men, and his is the legendary Star Lord. And
Yep.
so it was very exciting to see that on the screen in the Guardians font. I was just like, I was excited by that, and also like, why? Can't
Yeah.
like just let him be done?
Yeah.
Because he likes
they gotta
money.
keep those characters, bro. That's the thing.
Yeah.
They
That
gotta
was
keep
just
at least
the-
one of them,
that
and
was
all the other ones are
thing.
just totally done. And so Chris
Yeah.
Pratt,
It's
you know,
so
he doesn't have to do makeup or anything. It's like
Right.
he can show up and half-ass like one role in a small Avengers thing, whatever.
He can
That
go
was
hang
the
out
or
thing
with.
that just
or they might
felt
give him a
like
bigger role,
Marvel
so.
Studios to me. That
Yeah.
was like the
Which
first
was
time in the
fine.
movie that I was like, okay, Marvel's driving again. You
Yep.
know, which if the first time that I think that is
Is after
after
the
the
post
very,
second- yeah,
very
like,
credit scene.
Yeah.
that's okay with me. But yeah,
And
I'm a little bit
I'm
bummed
fine with
about
that. I'm fine with I love Chris Pratt as Star-Lord. So
Yeah,
I
no,
hope
he's great.
I hope he's utilized well in whatever capacity. I don't know if he will be an Avenger. That's just what makes the most sense.
for sure.
Because he's back on Earth, and so yeah, it'll be very interesting to see kind of what they do with him from there, and then the other characters will probably be referenced but not seen
Yeah.
again, and I'm totally fine with that.
Going back to music really quick, Adam Warlock liking King Crimson in that after credit scene just filled me with all kinds of love. I love King Crimson, and I was just like, you know what? That feels very Adam Warlock to me. Like that was great. Can we talk about Adam Warlock just for a little bit
Sure. Yeah.
before we're because I know that we're trying to wrap up, but Adam Warlock to me was like the most underwhelming part of this movie.
Yeah.
Just because I was like, I feel like he was kind of a big part of like not even necessarily promotional material, but like hype material going
Yeah.
into this movie. He was the after credit scene for volume
For the
2.
second one, yeah.
It was like we're building to Adam Warlock, and then he was like a small part of a couple of scenes.
Yeah.
It felt to me at least like there was more to him in this movie, like in the script, that ended up getting cut out in favor of focusing more on the Guardians themselves.
Yeah.
Which isn't necessarily a bad thing. It was just kind of weird.
Yeah.
To
His
have
inclusion did
literally,
not
like,
feel
the
necessary.
comics god, like
Mhm.
Adam Warlock is like this basically like a Christ figure in the Infinity Gauntlet storyline. To have him just kind of show up and be like weird, kind of frustrating antagonist at the very beginning, and then kind of silly goofball for the rest of the times that he showed up. It was just weird.
Yeah.
Right.
It did feel a little bit out of place, but I was fine with it. Like he
Yeah,
was
like
he was
Sam,
totally unnecessary inclusion, and maybe like a little bit disappointed, but I didn't really care that much about the character in the first watch, at least, because I wasn't like that wasn't why I was there. I was there
Yeah.
to see the other Guardians, and so yeah, it'll be interesting. I could see him showing up maybe independent of the Guardians too, but I don't know how they would do
Yeah.
that since he's like a new Guardian. So
Right.
I don't think they need to
And he's
though.
also like Captain Marvel level, just Goku, like
Yeah.
If he's there,
powerful.
the fight
Yeah.
is over. You
Yeah,
know?
yeah. So
I think as
I-
far as guest funny people, Nathan Fillion took the cake for me.
Oh, so funny.
His whole one joke was just so funny.
And they
It's like,
just
I got the
drove
guy-
it into
got
the
a guy.
ground.
I
I've
love
got a
that.
guy like that.
he's like, I gotta like, and it's just it's like he's looking for excuses to bring it up.
To
It's like
he just wants
barely
to talk about how his
context,
guy
like
sucks.
contextually. He's just like, oh, I know what you mean.
And the setup for it of that, like that conversation where it's like, no, I just made that up. Oh, I thought you said something else. Like, we've all been on
And-
both sides of
Oh,
that
yeah, yeah, yeah.
conversation.
We're
Like,
trying to get along with the cool guy,
Yeah.
or you
I'm just
try
not
and
willing
make
to
fun of
admit that
someone.
up.
just
Yeah, yeah.
lied to fit in. Like,
I thought you said something else.
And he keeps saying, I thought you said something else. Yeah, that was really
It was
funny.
So
great.
funny.
so
Yeah,
good.
they had a lot of actually really good running jokes in this, and
Mhm.
that was fun. Like the did it look cool? That was a fun
Yeah,
one. You know, Mantis falling on her head every time.
Yeah,
Like it just made it a very enjoyable experience.
Yeah.
for sure.
What a good time.
For a pretty long movie, I was wanting more. Even
Yeah.
like
Did not
I did
feel as
not
long
feel
as
it.
was.
No, not at all. I watched Beau is Afraid, which did feel as long as it was.
I'm gonna go to that like this weekend, I think, once my Mega Pass renews.
Nice. I'll be curious to see what you think about it. But
You know how I am. I go to movies wanting to like them, and if it's an artsy movie, I'll just pretend I understand it and like it. So like
That's-
I could
that's
I could write
exactly
my
what
review.
this one is
Yeah.
gonna be like.
I could write my review right now. I'm almost sure of it.
What-
4.5
Before
stars.
watching it.
4.5
It is
stars.
beautiful to look at. Joaquin Phoenix is an amazing actor.
4 stars.
That's my review of
It's
Beau is
so
Afraid.
fresh to see a director tell his story, or like a story
Yeah.
that is so unique.
Yeah, so obviously
Never
personal.
knew what the next scene was going to have, and
So clearly personal that he kept the story withheld from us even by the end of the movie.
Even by the end of it all.
Oh,
yeah,
man.
it's
I'm excited for it. I know that it's going to be just this whole art house hoity-toity ridiculous, probably kind of self-serving, just whatever. I don't care. I think I'm going to like it.
yeah.
But we're not talking about Beau is Afraid. We're talking about the end of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah, there's no more. I will say honestly,
It's
since
the end for
Endgame,
me.
since Endgame, this and Spider-Man are the only two that have been great, like truly great movies
Yeah.
wise.
Yeah.
I
think-
even like the first 2 acts of Shang-Chi.
Yeah, first two acts
I
of
love-
Shang-Chi were great.
Awesome.
Third act, pretty
Third
weak
act.
though.
Third
Yeah.
act is just it's
Where it
blown
drags it
over.
down. Also, we
But
gotta
even
reference
then,
the
like the
fact
Shang-Chi versus his dad, amazing.
was
Very
sweet.
cool.
Yeah, it
Like
was literally
all
just
of
the
that in
dragon
Act 3,
thing.
excellent.
There's another example. Doesn't have to be blown out of proportion. Just make it
Yeah.
Just
a
make it
just
a
let him fight his
self-contained
dad.
thing.
intimate story.
What we got to reference the fact that this was a good movie, and I will not have to return to school to do finance,
That's
because
great.
that was something we
Yeah.
talked about when we talked about. I don't even remember what episode we talked about
It's
that.
probably the James.
It's probably
Gunn one.
James Gunn.
I think it was, but it was basically the idea that if you didn't listen to that episode, if this movie was bad, I watched it the same night as my graduation. I went from graduation to this, basically, to this movie. And if this movie was bad, because I majored in film, I would have to return to school and major in finance.
Right.
And because it was good, I don't have to do that anymore. So
That's awesome,
I'm very,
man.
I'm very happy that I can continue trying to do film stuff and not have to worry about, doing this whole thing. But
I'm happy for you, dude.
Yeah.
I'm really happy for you.
me too.
So yeah, now
I'm,
we'll
done-
just
I'm very burned out of school. I would not love having to go back to do
Uh-huh.
another 2 years. So
of finance.
Finance.
And I
So-
was burned out of Marvel. And
Yeah.
I
Now
probably
you
will
are-
as soon as I watch the next thing that comes up.
the
This gave me
Marvels.
a little bit of hope.
Yeah.
And then the
Yeah.
next thing is I'm just gonna be like, all right, never
Yeah.
mind.
Okay.
Yeah.
Never mind about that. Never mind about that.
But yeah, so now I guess the next step for all of us is just write some more Please Do Not sketches, right?
That is the next step.
Very cool.
Yeah. Next week, let's do Better Call Saul. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you guys can look forward to Better Call Saul. Who are
Yeah.
listening, if you care about that, the whole show, because Jared just watched it because it's on Netflix now.
Yeah, we're giving you
Heyo.
a week notice to go
So
and
go
watch
and
all
watch
of it.
6
Yep.
seasons of Better Call Saul.
Well, if you haven't watched season 6 yet because you haven't been able to stream it, here's your PSA that it's available to stream on Netflix.
Yes.
Season
Yes.
6 is now available. So
Very
you can do
excited to
that.
talk about it.
And it was, we'll talk about it next week. So
And we might also feature a brief Niall Thorley review of Beau is Afraid. So
yeah, we might do that. We also might feature a brief cameo from Bob Odenkirk, friend of the podcast. So
yes, friend of the pod.
Yes.
keep your eyes peeled for that. He might show up.
He's been wishy-washy.
He's
That's all
been
we'll say.
wishy-washy, but we think if
Yeah.
we push just a little bit harder, we think we can get him.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
for sure.
Absolutely.
But
Cool.
until then, we'll
Have
see
a
you on
good
another
Man
Man Cave
Cave.
movie night Monday.
But yeah, that's what it is.
Ba-ding!